News Hub's political editor, Paddy Gower, joins us now. Paddy, help me out here. Help the country out. What's happening?
Well, what we've got here is a very complicated political system that's delivered a complicated result. There's a complicated process to get a government, and there is a very, very, very complicated man in the middle of it, controlling it all. And I want to call out Jacinda Ardern first. She said when she appeared on the AM show this morning that her and Bill English aren't lapdogs in this process. Well, I'm sorry to use poor language, but Bill English and Jacinda Ardern need to cut the crap. They are lapdogs in this process. Winston Peters has been in control of this country for 24 days now since the election. Yes, negotiations are going into their 10th day, but it is 24 days of limbo with Bill English and Jacinda Ardern acting as lapdogs to Winston Peters. Now, what we have learned off the AM show of the last 2 mornings, and I have to say this, and I think a lot of other New Zealanders will agree, I really like waking up on Monday mornings and seeing Bill English come on the AM show and show some leadership and remind us of what it's like to have someone in control of the country and starting to give some clues and ideas, because then he scuttles away and disappears and hides for another week and we don't hear from him again. We see Jacinda Ardern again, but that's it, and it's back to Winston limbo. So thank you, Duncan, and the AM show for doing that. But what we've learned off the AM show is that Winston Peters has total control. He's got them both pinned down on policy. There ain't no deals for either side on anything else. They're all waiting on him. They are his lapdogs.
No, they really are. They're chihuahuas. And what interests me here, Paddy, and well said, thanks for the promo lines.
It's a blue chihuahua and a red chihuahua. Yes. That's what we've got here. And there's a little green chihuahua that runs along behind the other one. Yeah. Winston's got these 2 big leashes. Yeah, that's what's going on.
The green one got run over. Hey, but the thing about Blue's Clues and the red side, they're really being run around here by Peters, because not one of them has confirmed to me, neither Jacinda or Bill has said to me, oh, so we've asked Peters what kind of government he wants and what kind of job he wants. Why haven't they asked Peters what he wants? Why is he in control? Why can't they say to him, hey mate, what do you want? What sort of government do you want?
Yeah, and that's what we started to see, that pushback from Bill English yesterday on the AM show, but it might have come too late, because Winston Peters has gone and banked the policy, and now they're all sitting there going, well, what kind of thing is he going to ask for? What kind of government is he going to ask for? And you've been raising this concept of Winston Peters sitting outside maybe a national government and making them vote issue by issue. That would be a nightmare scenario if that's what Winston Peters goes back to Bill English and asks for. Imagine being Bill English having to come out and explain to the country, okay, we've got to deal with Winston Peters, we've given him all this stuff, and now he's going to vote issue by issue in the Parliament. I mean, Kiwis don't really even understand MMP yet, how the voting or anything works. Look, they don't want some gigantic kind of politics 101, this is how the Parliament works. They want a government. 93% of New Zealanders did not vote for Winston Peters, and over half of them actually went out and voted early. Now, I know everyone talks about 1996 and 2005. That's a long time ago. The world has changed. Kiwis get stuff done. They go and vote early. They want a government. They don't want some process where both Bill English and Jacinda Ardern, who actually do have moral authority. There is something called moral authority. Bill English got it. He got the highest result. Jacinda Ardern has moral authority as well. She's the leader of the opposition. Kiwis don't want a country, and anyone who's been out walking around over the weekend or over the coming days knows this. They don't want a country that is in limbo and controlled by Winston Peters. We've moved on. Kiwis get stuff done, and people lead. That's the way this thing gets run, and that's not what's happening in New Zealand at the moment.
Okay, so let me throw a controversial idea in here. So of the 2.1 million New Zealanders who voted, 1.7 million of them voted either National or Labour. Why doesn't Bill English ring up Jacinda, get them in a room together and say, okay, what can we agree on here in the next 3 years? Let's put together a world-class 15, you know, like a World Rugby 15 or whatever. So let's put together the best 20 ministers we can find amongst National and Labour, find the things that we can agree on, because the truth is, between Labour and National, they agree on lots of things. They certainly agree on economic orthodoxy, which is pretty much what we do, you know, as a country now with our economic policy. So why don't we get them in a room, say to Peters, you can bugger off, pal, you're completely irrelevant, go and have lunch with David Seymour, and we'll put together this world-class Labour National coalition for 3 years. I know it sounds ridiculous, but why not?
Yeah, it sounds good, and then we'll go out and we'll get world peace, and the Mongrel Mob and Black Power will start working together to save dolphins out on the coastline or something as well, Duncan. Good luck, mate.
Okay, so because the truth is these parties are set up against each other, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. And look, I tell you what, something more potential is actually Bill English or James Shaw getting on the phone together, and I know there's been all this white noise about a teal deal. They don't need to do a teal deal. They just need to have a teal call, a teal phone call. Now, I know why it won't happen. Bill English doesn't want to ring James Shaw because he's afraid that it will drive Winston absolutely crazy because he's afraid of Winston Peters. James Shaw doesn't want to ring Bill English because he knows it will drive his supporters crazy. But the fact of the matter is, if they could somehow concoct a way of meeting where they forget about all these crazy things and get together and get on the phone and do something for New Zealand and remove the leverage from Mr. 7%. Just get on the phone, the Greens and the Blues, and remove the leverage from Mr. 7%. Because what we've got here is a perception issue. Whatever government goes with Winston Peters, it's already starting to look poor. It's not the time he's taken. He's only taken 10 days, but it's shambolic. He misses deadlines. He says things that won't happen. Everyone's got to kind of come on and admit things on the AM show and then scuttle away to the beehive. What we might have here is a perception issue for whoever ends up going with Winston Peters. And I tell you, I mean, Jimmy Shaw and Billy English, get on the blower, guys, and do something for New Zealand.
You could organise a little meeting. You could ask James to be somewhere around Bellamy's or whatever the place is called these days.
That's right.
And get English down as well. Oh, suddenly they meet or something, Penny.
Oh, yeah, you know, and get them in a broken lift or something like that where there's 20 minutes where they can just talk, or they walk into each other with a whole lot of papers, collide and drop the papers on the ground just like in the movies, and they've kind of got to talk while they pick them up. Something like that. That's what New Zealand needs right now, a game changer along those lines. But I don't think it's going to come, Duncan. We're still in Winston limbo land, and the problem about Winston limbo land is that nobody at the moment knows a way out until he tells us what the way out is.
Paddy, just very quickly, do you think he knows what he's doing and where he wants to go? Do you think he knows what he wants?
I think he'll have a fair idea of what he wants. Now, he may want to set himself up as the conscience of Parliament, what we're talking about, sitting outside. So you return national, but you make them come to you issue by issue, and you're the conscience of Parliament. He may want something like that. Or he may want to go and be the senior member over in the Labour Green side. He will have some fair idea of what he has. Now, I've actually had some conversations with Winston Peters. Earlier this year, I asked him a very interesting question. I said, how does your political brain work? And tried to get inside, because he has a brilliant political mind. Now, he told me that when he looks at an issue, he doesn't look for 4 elements, he looks for 8 elements, and he likes to think how all of them work before he makes a decision and sees how something lands so that his position lasts. That's what he'll be looking at with this decision, and it's a very difficult political calculus, because whatever he does may well end up looking like a poor decision. So he needs to find the best way to get it out there, the best way to sell it. He will get a hell of a lot of policy gains for his voters, but it's how it looks to the rest of New Zealand. Now, I just want to point out one thing, because I have had a good time on the AM show this morning. I want to make a bet with you about a particular policy gain that I think will get across the line that your viewers and listeners might be interested in, and that's eco-fur. I'm willing to make a bet that Winston Peters will get his policy called eco-fur in, which is a state-owned exporter and processor of possum, weasel and ferret fur. So let's just see what ones come up with that. I think that whoever has given Winston Peters that will become the government. That's my little prediction.
And the headline is "Pop goes Peters the Weasel." That's it. That's Fatty. Brilliant. We're going to end on the weasel and the fur. Okay, good on you, mate. I appreciate it.
Duncan, that is not a joke. There is an eco-fur policy. It's a state-owned exporter and processor of possum, weasel and ferret fur, and I'm willing to bet that I think one of the parties has offered that to Winston Peters.
Okay, good on you, Paddy. I appreciate your time on the program. Of course, we didn't call Peters a weasel. It's the weasel policy. It's the fur.
Oh, you're back out of it now, Duncan, eh?
Can we just share some love with Patrick Gower? He is so good.